Welcome to the Northern Powerhouse interview series, where we're unashamedly spreading good news by interviewing Northern businesses and their successes during the pandemic. Subscribe to be notified of new interviews or click the link in the description to take part if you'd like to be interviewed yourself in a future episode. Well, good morning. We have Faye Alexander with us. Faye, thank you so much for taking the time to come on our podcast or interviews with local business people. So just before we start, perhaps it'd be great if you could introduce yourself, your businesses, who your sort of clients you work with and how you help them.
So thank you for having me on. My name's Faye Alexander and I have 3 businesses now. One is Alexander Events Limited, which is primarily live events. I do everything from a 10-bedroom venue find. All my venue finding services are complimentary, right through to my biggest event was a concert a couple of years ago with Harry and Meghan. So, and anything in between, conferences, gala dinners, I've booked accommodation for expeditions, all that kind of stuff. My second business is in international academic conferences. That's called KES International. So I've taken that over last year. And my new business, which I guess we'll talk about more today, is called KES Online. And that's been born out of the back of this terrible pandemic, dare I say. And that's a virtual conference platform, a virtual events platform. Which is the newest out of the 3.
Well, so what sort of? I mean, that sounds amazing. I mean, we run events, and we have run events for a long time. So we've been doing a lot of the smaller Zoom meetings, Zoom webinars, and stuff. But a significant event must take quite a lot of planning. And what are some of the differences to going online that you found?
Well, we found that people are obviously less available in terms of their participation. So we've had a few people say that they'd be available and then be called away. And I think that, obviously if they were on site with us in Croatia and Verona, where we were supposed to be this year, they wouldn't have been able to attend an urgent meeting or, they would have been there. So there's that pull, and I think a lot of employers are expecting people to work, carry on working, but attend these conferences and webinars at the same time. So, there is that kind of pull because they're sat behind a screen and not away at an event.
Interesting. That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought about that. Now it makes perfect sense, but it's until you experience it that I can see that would happen. Brilliant. Well, look, what we'd like to learn this morning is a little bit about how you've gone through the whole process of the COVID outbreak, the lockdown, etc. So, if I asked you, looking back over the last 6-7 months, going back to sort of January, February, March, how has the COVID outbreak affected you and the businesses?
Well, I'll start with Alexander Events. So on the 1st of March, I was sat in a pitch in London, loving it, pitching to a client for a large film and television archive-based award ceremony to be held in London. And so that was the 1st of March, and we were really excited about finding them the perfect venue and having this international audience come in for this award ceremony. And obviously, as you know, 23rd of March, I think it was, we were then in lockdown. So I went from really picking up speed with Alexander Events at the beginning of the year. KES International, all of our conferences were booked for the year. We were due to go to Croatia and Verona. And then within the space of, less than a month, I was sitting in our car in a drive-through farm shop, surrounded by people in hazmat suits, loading food into the boot of my car and saying to my husband, what are we going to do? He had just left his job of 19 years as a project manager with British Gas, and he'd left his job to come on board with me to manage the businesses. So we now had all our eggs in one basket. And we just sat down and we said, we can't not do these conferences. KES International is 24 years old. It's never missed a conference. Our academics need to publish. They're still researching, they're still working, and they still need to publish their work. So we said, you know, how are we going to survive? What are we going to do? This is all of our income. So we decided that we needed to act fast. With Alexandra events, it was more difficult because they are live events. So that, you know, the government's made it illegal for me to work with Alexandra events. They made it illegal for the last 6 months, and they've made it illegal for another 6 months, to put it nicely.
Right.
You know, we're not allowed to do events. We're allowed to do small business events of up to 30 people, very small weddings, but weddings aren't my industry. Yeah, it's just been incredibly tough. So we sat down and we looked at many platforms which we would hope would, you know, host our events, and we couldn't find anything that would fit the KES International model. I said to Jonathan, you know, it's incredibly difficult because I don't want to have to change our whole event to fit the virtual world. The virtual world should fit our event. I think it was even more difficult being an event manager because we know that things can change. We know that we want to adapt things, you know, so we just went for it. We sat down with a developer and a designer, and we just said, this is what we want, this is what we need. You know, can you make us this? Because we can't find anything like it. We need something that we can adapt, that is scalable, that we can brand, that, you know, will work for our international conferences, but will also work for my Alexandra events clients. You know, those events are different. So we need it to work for conferences where there's lots of breakout rooms, speakers, and lots going on in that respect. But my other clients, you know, one of them has a round table room, one of them has a small exhibition on the side of their conference. I wanted them to go to a platform where all of this would take place, where they could still have the networking lounge, and things would work for them all under one roof. So we built this platform over the space of about 6 to 8 weeks with the developer in lockdown. It's incredibly tough because we have a toddler. He was really poorly. We were working at home. We were under lockdown, so we had no childcare. We were working, you know, around the clock. My husband studies as well as running this business. Ezra was really poorly, so we were in and out of hospital with him. I suffered COVID-19 symptoms, so that was a real big impact. And we knew that we only had until June to save our whole entire income. Our livelihood was these businesses, and if we couldn't make it work, then people would quite rightly be entitled to a refund. And we knew we'd lose everything. And, you know, that's our home, that's our livelihood. Everything was at stake. So yeah, we created this platform. We ran the first conference on it in June, which was a tremendous success. We've had inquiries off the back of that. And we've ran another 3 events on it since then. And we're now starting getting leads and inquiries. We've developed marketing material. And in all of that, we had to get an office because our Wi-Fi at home was horrendous. Had to get an office, get a member of staff, create a new business. And yeah, we're like coming through the other side, thank God.
Wowzers, that's amazing. What a story. Thank you. Oh, that's and well done. It's incredible. It's not incredible, but it's great to see how many, you know, the resilience of so many people that we speak to and work with. It in many industries, you know, including yours, especially yours, it would be totally understandable just to put your head in your hands. I mean, it is like, oh heck, this is everything goes. We've had everything from we had a world barbecue champion that was doing, you know, had a massive forward order book of outdoor events for the summer. You might even know him. Everything went, We've had a business that works primarily or almost primarily into the travel industry. So obviously they're all but the resilience and the adaptation that we've seen has just been incredible. What a great story. Well done. And as a quick aside, it would be good to know a little bit more, because Action Coach as a national and a global organisation, we are running regular events and conferences primarily using Zoom at the moment. But if there are better, more effective platforms, I'd be more than happy to introduce you to the right people to talk about that. So that'd be super. No, it sounds great. So you touched on a couple of things there in terms of adaptation. It'd be interesting to see what the biggest challenges you've had to overcome and how you have adapted. And if you tell a little bit more about those, any particular stories or any particular things that it'd be interesting to understand the nuances of what you do.
Yeah, so with Alexander Events, I picked up a new client at the beginning of the year, and I'd been asked to do a conference for them in Cardiff in June, and they were looking at events for America and China at the end of the year. So I managed to, we took their event virtual on the new platform about a fortnight ago, and had amazing feedback, so that was great. But for them, I have kept some income coming into Alexander Events by sort of pivoting that business and expanding a small amount of knowledge I had in event marketing before by doing all of their event marketing for this conference. So it's taken time to adapt, and I've been self-taught, a lot of this stuff. I've done their Twitter. I've self-taught myself things like MailChimp and Eventbrite and Canva and these different programs to help me market for them. Yep. So that took a while, but to keep income coming into Alexander Events. The event industry, we've had no support. You've probably seen lots of different things on the news about our industry, and we've completely really been forgotten, and they're still failing to acknowledge that we even exist, along with the arts and live music scene and all of that. So to keep that business alive, I'd worked on a new website for Alexander Events, which launched at in lockdown. It's my 8-year-old baby. It feels like my 8-year-old child that I've nurtured and looked after, travelled the world, put my blood, sweat and tears into for the last 8 years. And there's no way I'm going to give up on it now.
Brilliant.
So that was Alexander Events. And then with the virtual stuff, we're not techies, we're not designers, developers. So that's taken an awful lot of adaptation. And I still can't decide whether a live event or a virtual event is more stressful. Because I just think that you are you're at the hands of technology, you're at the hands of the Wi-Fi, the hands of the power not going off. Yep. So the risk assessments for a live event, say the one I did with Harry and Meghan, was obviously humongous. But with these events, it's equally as risky, but for completely different reasons. And so it has taken a lot of adapting to, and learning completely on the spot all the time about the potential risks. I had a friend who started an event a couple of weeks ago and they got hacked, so that couldn't go ahead. Whereas I suppose the live contrast to an event like that would be a terrorism threat or something on site. So it's all a learning curve, but we've had to do it. We've had absolutely no choice. Back in March, it was a fight or flight moment, and we've worked so hard to get here. So
well done.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. I mean, it's a great story. So just you've touched a couple of those, but what wins would you celebrate from what you've achieved? What were the real high points?
Well, having to get a new office, we've got a beautiful new office now in York. So having to do that and set up a new business, all the learning, all the lessons that we've learned, The success of the conferences that we've done, we've had nearly 1,000 presentations on our virtual platform since it was created. You know, it's worked wonders for international delegates all over the world for 4 big events. One was up to 450 people. And the feedback we've had about the platform has been amazing. You know, we've used the exhibition hall already for it. We've used the round table room, networking lounges, keynote theatres, breakout spaces, and the feedback has been great. So that's been a massive high, because it makes you feel really proud that you've created something. The feedback about the fact that we're event managers, so we know that things can change last minute.
Yes.
We're not going to make you sit on a, you know, on hold to a, you know, a call center in India for 5 hours while we may or may not pick up. We're there. We're a small team, but we can adapt things. You know, my last client got an exhibitor a week before the event, and we needed to create the stand and the everything to go with that. So I think that, you know, what's nice is we are event managers. We haven't created a platform from the developers
Yes.
side. You know, we've created it with that knowledge between us. So yeah, massive highs now. Yeah.
What a great story. Fantastic. So looking at where we are, obviously going into the future, the future's a little bit uncertain still, but as we sort of develop a new norm, what things will you keep doing, you know, keep on doing that, you know, compared to things that you might want to go back to change, you know, change back to? What were the things that you've
I think that with Alexander Events, the future of the events industry will look completely different when we come out of this. I think that live events will look different. I think budgets will be different. Companies' priorities will be different. Probably won't be liked for saying that, but you know, it's true. It can't not be. It will be very different. So that one, I think we'll just have to take each day at a time, and you know, see where we are. I've got lots of friends in the events industry who have already gone off and found different jobs, different work, different, you know, we've been told to retrain, but I'm fortunate that I have this other arm. And yeah, for the virtual stuff, it, you know, it will be a massive part of our future. I don't like it as much as meeting people, hugging people, you know, seeing people in reality. You can't exchange that, but right now we have to. And I think that the virtual thing will be a huge part of our future, whether we like it or not. Somebody who we worked with at the BBC on perfecting some of our wireframes just quite rightly said this is the first pandemic of this century, and not to be pessimistic, but you know, it is. And I think that we need to just embrace it, and if we can embrace it with good technology and stuff that, you know, we've created that we can work with, then that's a bonus. So we'll carry on pushing our platform, finding our USPs, because the marketplace is becoming flooded with different platforms and things. Many of them niche, so lots of them will do just webinars or just video conferencing software or just exhibitions. So many of them niche, so we need to keep finding our USPs, keep pushing the product forward, working, you know, with growth strategists and marketeers to push it uphill, because that's something we're finding we struggle with, running 3 businesses and pushing them all uphill. So yeah, all of that really, and just looking to the future and looking at our marketplace and our clientele for KES Online, and just keeping all 3 businesses afloat. Fingers crossed.
Fantastic. No, I'm sure you will. I reminded there's I was told some time ago that there's one of the Chinese dialects that the symbol for problem has 2 parts. One is for challenge and one is for opportunity. And you know, and I just think that is so relevant right now about it's finding the opportunity and the challenge, because you know, all our competition will have the same challenge. It's the ones that are most flexible to change and that adapt that will be successful, and that is a massive opportunity because a lot of people won't. So So fantastic. So just thinking back to the sort of 1st of March, early March, I know you said you had obviously a meeting. So what would you have done sooner? In hindsight, just what would you have done sooner?
Well, we've I suppose giving ourselves a bit more time to create the platform and test it. You know, our first test of the platform was a live event. You know, for nearly 200 people. So we didn't have that time, we didn't have that team with the restrictions. And so I think, you know, obviously we've had a bit more hindsight. And I think there was a lot of scaremongering back then, but there was also a lot of, you know, we don't really know what's going to happen. And we were going into lockdown for 3 weeks, not 3 months. So yeah, it was just really, really difficult to understand the scale of what was going to happen. And just before I spoke to you, I was listening to the scientists on the BBC doing their talk, saying actually we're in a worse position now in terms of certain hospital cases than we were in March. So we're in this for the long haul. And I know we have the different people who are dead against the virus, dead against the pandemic, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But I think we have to just, now moving forward, just prepare, just think that we're in this for the long haul, and work our businesses around that. And anything that changes for the better, then that's a bonus. But right now, as tough as it is, you know,
Completely agree.
That's not on the horizon for us.
Completely agree. Completely agree. So I guess I totally agree with that. I guess looking positively, just thinking about when we do return to the new normal, whenever that is or whatever it looks like, what are you most looking forward to?
Well, I think that live events, when we're allowed to do them again, will be amazing. I went on a site inspection to London for this said award ceremony about a month ago, and unfortunately Boris came on the screen at the time they were deciding whether to contract or not, with some further bad news and restrictions. So, you know, the clients don't have the confidence, and I don't blame them. I wouldn't either. So I totally don't blame them for that. But I am really looking forward to getting back out there. You know, my life before, I would travel monthly all around the world. I've done that for 8 to 10 years now, whether it be trade shows, forums, site inspections, for actual conferences and events. I travel all the time. I've been really fortunate to be able to do that. So we miss that. It's like a void. You know, I said to my husband, it's almost like you grieve your former life, because it was so different. Massive grief for that. You know, even just socializing, client lunches, you know, all that kind of stuff. So it's incredibly different. But yeah, I'd be looking forward to all of that. And also the future of live events, and we're constantly adapting the platform, constantly updating it, tweaking it. And you know, I think that people realize now that so much more can be done online, that you don't need to do all this travel, especially with academics. So if they can do that and save all this business expense, you'll probably know the figures, but the business expense stats for travel are huge. So if businesses can save money and do virtual events, then as much as we prefer live, I think it will, you know, carry on. So lots of different things.
That's interesting, actually, because we've, as you say, grieving, we've our national event that we had to cancel was in April, and that was due to be at the brand new conference centre at Celtic Manor, the 2000. It was like we were so excited. We've been there before. We were on target to have 2,000 people there, so it was amazing. And then the global event for coaches was due to be at Rio de Janeiro in August. So as you rightly say, there's the pros are not having to travel, but the cons are missing out on some great meetings and things. So but that's fascinating. So what have you learned about yourself during this time?
That, you know, how much I hate sleep deprivation, and what it does to you, and how much of a roller coaster we've dealt with, you know, we've just learned that, you know, unfortunately, again, that the stats are horrible when it comes to breakups. And I've got friends who are estate agents who are showing people around houses now who haven't lasted this awful period, and it's devastating. But yeah, I mean, we've stuck together, so I think that we've learned that we are quite a strong little team. We haven't killed each other yet. And we've had to just look at, you know, what can be done and react really quickly and just keep positive. And, you know, a successful business person said to me a couple of weeks before we went into lockdown, you've just got to keep optimistic, just keep that chin up and look forward, just don't look back. And you know, like I say, when everything is on a plate in front of you at risk, it was a massive fight or flight moment for us. And it sounds as dramatic as it sounds, that is all of our income. And you know, when you have commitments like a toddler and childcare and a mortgage, you can't mess around. You've just got to do something. And obviously we would have gone and worked wherever to get income, but we'd have preferred to have kept our businesses and grown them. And we've just been fortunate, and I don't take for granted how fortunate we are to be in this position now, having had this horrific time and experience this massive roller coaster. Yeah.
Well done. Absolutely fantastic. The two quotes that come to mind, I love picking up quotes as we go, and the Henry Ford quote, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And you know, therefore it's just about a mindset and a choice. And one going even further back, which we picked up a little while ago, was from Charles Darwin, talking about evolution in the origin of species, which was, it's not the most intelligent or the strongest of the species that survive, but the ones most adaptable to change. Yeah. And I think, you know, we're evolving. Yeah, you should do. It's about evolution, isn't it? And just embracing change, accepting change, and then moving on. So that's wonderful. So on a final note, how do you perceive the future? What's the future look like for you and the businesses?
Well, we'd obviously love to keep Alexander Events going with live events when we can. In the meantime, just going to carry on doing some marketing and you know, wherever I can, and smaller businesses, smaller events. I've just done a venue find for lots of different training courses for 20 people, which are allowed. So I do all my venue finding for free because we get a kickback from the properties and the venues. Yep. So anything like that can really help small businesses like Alexander Events right now. Yes. So anything like that for that one. KES International, we will keep pushing because, like I said before, our academics, a global community of over 10,000 members in KES International, they all need to keep publishing their papers. Yep. So we'll keep pushing that one. And with the virtual, you know, we're just going to keep hoping that we get more inquiries with that one, and you know, we can keep going, because we had our first conference, like I said, a fortnight ago with that one outside of KES International, and we've had great feedback. And obviously the more of those we do, the more we learn, the more confident we become. And yeah, so we've got lots of inquiries in the pipeline, from you know, a Chamber of Commerce in Belgium through to universities in Wisconsin, Philadelphia, just lots of different corporates, a publisher, a real mix of inquiries, but all people who are doing virtual events. And some of them are like monthly webinars, and others are huge conferences. So yeah, we're really looking forward to seeing what the future brings with KES Online.
Wonderful. Well, look, I wish you all the best of luck, and I'm not sure you need it. I think wonderful how you've accepted change, you've accepted the challenge, you've got stuck in, and I'm sure the results are coming and will follow into the future. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your mindset, especially coming from a position of such significant challenge to what feels like a position of amazing success. And we look forward to seeing things move forward into the future. Maybe you come back in 3, 6, 12 months time and tell us how things have progressed.
Yeah, absolutely. I will do, definitely. Thank you so much. And thank you for your support at the beginning as well. I remember having numerous exchanges with Charlie and saying, I'm so sorry, I can't talk to you. I've got this 15-month toddler who's just learning to walk. And he was, you know, forever there and just there to support. And that was absolutely great. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. We you know, when everything happened for us, we just said, look, we'll just help as many people as we can. We've always had a goal to create 1,000 jobs, and it just turned out for us that we needed to start saving some to start with. You know, that's
really
you know, we're on with that. We'll continue to do that. And but for businesses like yourselves, it's also like focusing on growth and supporting that. So thank you so much, Faye, and hopefully we'll catch up again sometime in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you ever so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for watching. What was your takeaway from today's interview? Please post it in the comments below and subscribe for all our upcoming videos, or click for the next video here.